I didn't really know people at like Capcom directly, but I was always in association with a lot of them, like Seth and those folks, because I was an
Mm,
industry guy. I worked on a game for like several years, a virtual world game, and I would always be going to like E3 and Comic Con and having full access and talking to these dudes. If anything, I was in a spot where I was like able to communicate to Capcom folks because I was always the FGC guy that was inside, like they could go to industry events because most FGC couldn't. That's where I would always
okay.
talk to Keats. Keats would always be an industry guy because he wrote for SRK. So I
Mm,
was connected to Capcom, but not officially a part of anything. The vid through part was like very early multi-channel network type of shit when it
right.
was just Machinima for like the longest period of time. Machinima was the only thing that really existed. But vid through was this small sort of group, and the whole point was to get you to watch videos on YouTube, but also to go to their website. They didn't have like any money. It was like the very early concept. I ended up making about $90, I think, in totality for like a year's worth of work. There was always the potential of this blowing up or something like that, you know what
Right,
I mean?
right.
But that was definitely the idea of like, even when the money was very small, it's like, wow, I'm actually earning some sort of revenue from like making a video. Like that was just inconceivable. Like
Yeah.
you can play video games and make this stuff before the term content even existed, and actually produce revenue of some kind. But that wasn't until like I'd say like early 2011, mid 2011. Yeah, like Machinima hit me up, and I got one of their early contract agreements that guaranteed CPM like $2 per every 1,000 views. And it was there was no changing ad rates, anything like that. That didn't even exist. It was $2 for every 1,000 views. And then late 2011, Capcom hits me up specifically. Seth Killian sends me an email, and this is around September. I get laid off from my job, right around in the same week. I get laid off,
Wow.
and Capcom hits me up about doing an official Assist Me series for Ultimate Marvel 3. And that's the first time where I work with characters like Matt Dahlgren, Andrew Schnorr at Capcom, which were the big like sort of Capcom alumni at the time, Seth Killian, and the relationship with Marvel and how this is going to get accepted through Marvel. Like, how are they going to be cool with it? They were very weird with a lot of shit at the time because this was
Mm,
pre big MCU. This was when Captain America 1 was coming out. So it was interesting. It was fascinating. I understood how a lot of things actually work instead of from like a fan perspective, like an outsider's perspective, like, oh, this is how it actually works. So we had to produce like a 5 episode show, like very fast. But the first time that would happen, like officially working with Capcom, was that show. And then subsequently, for like years later, going all the way to 2014, I would go to places and make documentaries for them for their DuckTales game that came out, for the Strider game that came out. I would work on several Assist Me shorts for them for all Marvel versus Capcom Origins. It was like an ever growing thing where we just sort of had like a budget from them to make stuff. But if we want to talk about like, so how lucrative was that? Uh, the budget we had for, I think, the entire 5 episode series of Ultimate Assist Me was about 5 grand.
mm.
So we had to produce 5 episodes at 5 grand. Once things were done at the end of like 3 months of working, I got about $500,
Right.
and that was about it. That was about it. So I was like laid off. I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know if this is gonna work out, boy. Like this is pretty rough."
Interesting. But I'm assuming from that timeline you get laid off. I mean, you make only 500 after all this work. I mean, that's probably even less when you consider the amount of labor you're putting in, right?
Sure.
But does this mark like your transition to start investigating this content creation lifestyle further? I mean, that's a
Yes.
common theme I've seen with doing a lot of these interviews. Is like luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? Like you
Oh
prepared
yeah.
for this moment, you're ahead of the curve in terms of producing content, getting familiar with YouTube, and also industry connections. You worked in animation in the industry a little bit. You're at E3, and
Sure.
you're also like dabbling in other games. Call of Duty, those are like your random Call of Duty videos, like first nuke on this map is taken
Oh yeah.
off. Like you have these little like hits in between. Then you have Assist Me, which is like I think your first like big series hit. That all came together in that moment where you're like, okay, I got actually
Pretty
paid to
much.
do something. Are you you are looking to continue in that direction to see where it goes, or like how are you thinking about like career wise, like 2011, 2013? Like, are you just riding it out as long as you can before trying to get a more stable 9 to 5 type of job? Like, what are you thinking at this time?
At that point, it was a full commit situation. And in the late 20 in 2011, specifically late 2011, right, like all the preparation content leading up to a big game that we're all excited about, like I felt like my channel was the mecca for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It was like the lead up to excitement and build up of that. So I was making content leading up to it, talking about trailers, like creating the process of like, you know, talking to, it wasn't even a camera yet, just talking to my MacBook and making some sort of video editing process where I can make multiple videos a day that people would want to watch. Um, so yeah, I would have to be making this show in the background, knowing that I want to build an audience of people that like just give a shit. Like, do they care? Because
Right.
in the future, I know there's going to be other games and other things that come out that I will also care about. But I kind of like, I don't think it happened. It was in the process where I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. Like, I'm not going to be able to make Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 content forever. I'm not Tampa Never Sleeps. So the idea was that I would be able to grow an audience, like an established, like it was like 20,000 subs or something like that of people that wanted to watch. But new games are always going to come out. Like, and I do like new games to a certain degree. So I'll start making videos around Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur 5 was relatively the new, fresh thing. I started like playing other games like around that time frame, like some Resident Evil things. But yes, that what you're asking is around that time frame, it was a full commitment.
Wow.
And would follow with pretty much a year to 2 years of me making a quarter as much money that I'd made at my job to about half as much until it
Okay.
started going like, oh, now I'm making as much as I was making working like in 2014 and 2015. Now I'm making more and more and more. Yeah, like that period of time is like me and my wife like working like crazy to just pay bills, to just
Right.
support ourselves in any way, you know?
Hopefully you enjoyed that trash talk or extra trashy clip. If you want to see the full episode that clip came from, go ahead and click the link right over here. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you might enjoy this video right here. And for the trashiest amongst you, we get the merch right over there.
Yeah, that's right.